This one is LSAT PrepTest 146, Section 4, Passage 3. This one is a science passage about the origins of writing, specifically how tiny clay tokens evolved into abstract written symbols. On the read of the passage, the difficulty is pretty low, it's pretty easy, but the trap here is that students read this as a history lesson and stop tracking the arguments. The passage is presenting one scholar's theory. Denise Schmandt Besserat argues that writing didn't pop up out of nothing. It grew in stages from a simple counting system made of little clay objects. The whole passage is one long chain, and every paragraph adds the next link in the chain. Now, the most important paragraph is the third one. That is where the chain finishes and the theory actually lands. But you're going to misread it if you don't track what came before. Paragraph 1 opens with a mystery. You've got ancient tablets from Europe with abstract symbols on them. But the symbol for sheep is not a picture of sheep. It is a circled cross. So where did these signs and symbols come from? That is the puzzle. Then the passage says there are thousands of clay tokens at sites along the Jordan, some older than 4000 BC. Now, most researchers shrugged them off, called them amulets or game pieces. But Schmandt Besserat says they got it wrong. She says these tokens are the direct ancestors of writing. You want to read this carefully. Its job here is to set up the gap between the mystery and her answer. If you miss the mystery, her answer is not going to feel like it matters. Now, paragraph 2 is pure evidence. It fills in Schmandt Besserat's story with physical details. The early tokens were basic shapes like cones, spheres, and pyramids. Then, people started sealing them inside hollow clay envelopes. Then, they started pressing the tokens into the outside of those envelopes. Now, think about why. You don't need to break the envelope open anymore. The information is visible on the surface. That is a move towards abstraction, even though nobody's writing yet. And Schmandt Besserat ties the envelopes to record keeping for grain and livestock pools. Then after 4000 BC, the system gets more complex. More token shapes show up. Now you could speed through most of this, but don't blow past that detail about pressing tokens into the clay. This is a hinge in the argument. The impression on the outside of the envelope is the bridge between objects and symbols. Then paragraph 3 is where you slow way down. This is the payoff. Around 3100 BC, marks on clay tablets replace the tokens entirely. Then, a few centuries later, actual numerals appear. And then the passage walks you through a specific example using oil jars. 3 stages. First, 2 oval tokens sitting in front of you mean 2 jars of oil. Second, 2 marks scratched onto a tablet mean the same thing. Third, you get 3 separate signs. One for the number 2, one for the jar as an object of measure, and a brand new symbol for oil itself. That third stage is abstract writing. It doesn't look like a jar, it's just a symbol that means oil because people agreed it does. Now that 3-stage example is the key move. The whole passage is building towards it, and the test writers will use it to check whether you understood the difference between each stage. Stage 2 still uses the shape of the old token, but stage 3 breaks from it completely. If you blur those two together, you're going to grab a wrong answer that describes the wrong step. Now the author's stance here is clean. She treats Schmandt Besserat's theory as the answer to that opening mystery. There is no rival theory, there is no pushback, no saying some scholars disagree. And that makes the passage easier, but it creates a different kind of trap. Students sometimes invent tension that is not there. So if you see a choice suggesting the author is cautious or skeptical, cross it out, she is all in. Now, the pattern running through this passage is a substitution chain. One thing replaces another, which in turn replaces another thing. Tokens replace objects. Impressions replace tokens. Marks replace impressions. Abstract signs replace marks. If you see that chain, the passage holds together in your head like a timeline instead of a bunch of facts. Now, before you go on to the questions, check yourself on 3 things. First, what problem did pressing tokens into the outside of the envelope solve? Second, what is the actual difference between stage 2 and stage 3 of the oil jar example? And third, why does the passage start off with the Europe tablets if the theory is really about tokens from the Jordan Valley?